Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the first time you are joining me, or joining us, in fact, for our 3 Girls 1 monthly catch-up. For those who don't know, we do this every month, starting from last year, and we do it to keep us accountable for doing these videos in the first place, but also I think we just kind of like actually having a conversation as a catch-up, rather than just talking at a video, like a camera on our own kind of thing. So it's good fun for us. Hopefully it's good fun for you as well. And we're just going to go through the usual stuff: wildcard, decks, books, films, that kind of thing. And I think I'm going first this time. So wildcard, I don't actually have anything to share for a wildcard this time. I mean, I know it's been a couple of months, and obviously Christmas happened and there was, you know, family stuff. I went back to my parents for Christmas and then saw my sister and her kids. I say kids, they're 30 and 25, by the way. So, and they came over Boxing Day, and we just did the usual family stuff, played games, ate lots of food, that kind of thing. And then January, I turn into the biggest hermit, and I just refuse to leave my house for a month and stay home and read lots and eat lots and stay under the quilt and just do as little as possible. So that was basically my January.
So I don't really have any highlights of fun things to share for January. I mean, December, you know, we got to see family, Matt's family in Pennsylvania for the holidays. But if the people who saw my community post, they already know that yeah, my sister passed away unexpectedly. And so that's why we put 3 Girls on pause for January. So that's just been my month of, you know, just trying to navigate that loss and dealing with bureaucracy at the same time, which has been just a shit ton of fun, let me tell you. So that's pretty much been my month. But thank you to everyone who has offered their, you know, support and condolences. It's really meant a lot, and it's definitely, yeah, helped me a lot. So thank you.
For me, not a lot has been going on. I went to Colorado for Christmas like I always do. I was there for 2 weeks, had a really, really wonderful time with my family. And then since I got back, I have been doing similar hermity stuff where I basically also have barely left my house. Although in the last couple of weeks, it's actually gotten freakishly warm and sunny for the month of January and early February in Minnesota. So that's been weird. And it's made me start feeling like I actually want to leave my house. But aside from that, it's just been very, very quiet around here. So nothing much else going on.
Okay, cool. So next is decks that we have been working with. I've been playing around with decks this month, where I've had a week with one and then a week with another and stuff. And then so I've got a deck and an oracle deck, but I didn't actually work with them together. I worked with them separately, but I've been using my Tildwyk again towards the end of January. And I don't know, like every time I get this deck out, I think this deck should not work for me. There are so many things about it that should not work for me. It's quite dark, not in like theme, but in actual color palette. Yeah. It's quite dark, which is not normally my preference. There's no people in it, and or animals or anything, which normally I like something in my decks. And it's very much a Sarah deck. It is very, very much a Sarah deck.
Very much Sarah deck.
I love that deck so much.
I really, really like it. I just really like it. I think we've talked about it before, and it's just that, like, I read with it in a very different way than I read anything else, because there's nothing in it. I feel like I'm more in the card and in the meaning of the card. So especially with daily draws, I actually find it easier to connect my day to the daily draw in some ways.
I can see that, yeah.
Because I'm having
open deck. It feels very just kind of spacious and open.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's all big, like, garden spaces. Even though you're only getting snapshots, you can imagine it's a snapshot of a much bigger room or a much bigger garden, or and it's got a really, because he was English, right? Or he was British anyway. I don't know if he was English specifically, but and it does have a very old proper country house rundown kind of feel to it, which I also really like. I like old country houses quite a lot, so it does have that feel to it as well. And it's got a very gothic, almost like gothic horror vibe as well, which I also really appreciate. So I just really like it. I really like it. And every time I put it away and I convince myself that it's not a deck for me really, and then I get it out again and I play around with it for a couple of weeks, and then I think, oh, I really love this deck. I'm so glad I own it. I really love it.
Yay! That makes me happy.
I know. Yeah. And it's really because of the way I shuffle, because I'm quite a I overhand shuffle, which I think causes the chipping in the thing much more than riffle shuffling does. So it is really chipped around the edges, but it just adds to that whole like gothic vibe. Vibe. It's perfect.
Exactly.
So I've been really been enjoying that. And then also I got a new Oracle deck in December. So I got the Cute and Creepy Oracle because I got an email from the creator, because I follow the creator, because obviously I backed the tarot and I love it, and it was on sale, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. So I did, and it came quite late in December, so I was using it towards the end of December, and then the whole of January. I think I did pretty much used it for the whole of January. And it's just, it doesn't come, you can buy a book extra, but I didn't bother getting the guidebook. And I don't think you really need one. It's got like, it's hard to see because it's like gone 9 o'clock at night here and it's dark, but you've got like, there we go. So you've got like a keyword card, and then you just get a little, like a phrase. So slow down. And then at the top, it says, don't rush things.
That's all you need, really.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got ear, and then the stuff at the top is stop and really listen. So it's just, each card is just such a good self-contained message that you can dive off of, that I'm really enjoying it. But it's not as cute and creepy as the Oracle deck, as the tarot deck. It's a lot more cute.
Yeah,
I creepy.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
The tarot has been my unicorn deck, one of my unicorn decks for sure. Just like, because it's out of print and it's really hard to get. So, but yeah, I'm just like kicking myself that I didn't get it when it was still available. But
yeah, she does. I think she does reprints though, doesn't she, on her own website occasionally?
I mean, I have not caught wind. Every time I've tried to look up,
it's been out. Yeah,
available. I've had no luck. So fingers crossed. Maybe one day she will.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I do really like the Oracle, but as I say, it's more cute. It's more staged with that cute art style, and there's a lot less like the tarot is all like different kinds of monsters and like figures from mythology and all of that kind of stuff. Whereas this is just people, and there was a question mark and an ear and that kind of stuff. So it doesn't. I definitely prefer the tarot in terms of the imagery is more my style because it combines both. Yeah. But it's actually really easy. It's really easy to use. It's really like I've been using it on its own, which is something I don't do very often with Oracle decks. It's a really decent size. I mean, it's the same size as a tarot deck. I think it's got maybe 1 or 2 cards less than a tarot deck.
Wow. Okay.
That's a big Oracle.
Yeah. So it's good. It's been a lot of fun to work with it. I have put it away now for a bit, but now that I've got it in my hands, I might get it out again because I have really enjoyed it.
Do you plan to pair it with the Cute and Creepy Tarot?
I did.
Oh,
yeah, no, I did. That's what I did when I first got it. So December, I paired it with. I had them both, so I was using them both. And I was using them for daily draws, and I was using them in readings as well. So I was doing readings, and then I was pulling some Oracle cards as well.
Cool.
So, and they work. I mean, it's not surprising that they work really well together. And I mean, it's the same art style, so they pair beautifully. They look good together.
Awesome.
So it's been a lot of fun. And then I've just been like, the rest of the time I've been playing with like different RWS decks. So the Modern Witch and This Might Hurt Tarot. I've just been using them as well in between playing with other decks. So that's pretty much been me deck wise.
Cool.
So yeah, I actually worked with several decks too. And one of them that I started working with in December and it spilled over into January actually is the Tarot of a Moon Garden Borderless. Hello, it's one of my like ride or die decks, and I have like every version available. So of course I needed to have this new borderless version. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say other than like I really enjoy it. I like, you know, I like what they did, you know, with this like more ramped up version. You know, I like the shape of it. It's easy to shuffle. Like I just, and you know, there are little details that I wouldn't necessarily have noticed in the regular size that now I do notice. And, you know, even the book would point out little things that I'm like, oh, that was in that card. And then I'd go back and look and it's like, oh, yeah, that is in that card. You know? Things like that.
So do you prefer this one, do you think, to the bordered one?
It's a different vibe. I don't even know how to describe it. I think it's like more of a mood thing. I mean, it's hard to say. I do like the bordered one because that's its own kind of feel. It's just, it feels a little more, I don't know, it feels a little more like, because it's a bit on the cloudy side, it does feel more like you're just like entering this portal into it. So it has this more kind of like mystical, more elusive vibe to it. But this one's just as lovely. It's just, it's crisper. And so it's just a little less hard on the eyes, you know, than my old eyes. So, and I always love this like bookmark shape. I
quite like that shape as well. Yeah.
And, you know, purple, hello, like after my own heart. Yeah. And this gilding actually this edging does not actually cut into my hands, which thank goodness. So this has just been really nice. And it turned into, I would not have characterized this as such, but you know, moving into January and the kind of rough month I was having, this turned into like a really nice hug deck, actually. And that's a lot of what January was for me. It was like that month really kind of tested what I perceived to be a hug deck. And turns out animal decks are my hug decks. So like, I mean, because we were talking about the kawaii, Heather had mentioned that in the previous installment. And so I had gotten that out in December because I'm like, oh, I really like, I miss that. I want to work with that now that Heather's talked about it. So I got this one out and was working with it December into January. And it's just so adorable. And it really, I mean, this is like just the epitome of a hug deck, honestly.
Yeah. It's just so
edgy.
I don't think words.
And even in some of the darkest days, like I couldn't help but smile. When seeing some of these cards.
Yeah.
You know,
you just want to cuddle all those cute fat animals.
Oh, you do. You really do. And the color palette is so nice and soft and inviting. And so it's just really, yeah, it's hard not to like crack a small smile, you know, with a deck like this. So this was a fantastic hug deck. And then I also worked with Page of Cats, which a cat deck by Tina from Queen of Wands. So that turned out to be really lovely. And I sometimes even worked with that together along with the kawaii. So that was great. I mean, it was just a bunch of like animal decks. The Grimalkins, I did the Grimalkins as well. Another cat deck. Apparently, like, I guess animal decks are my hug deck. my type of hug deck. But then oddly, there was a week where I was kind of wanting to wallow. And so I chose Murder of Crows. Because this was a week where I'm like, man, this speaks to me so hard. This validates, like, oh, look, there I am. This is my mindscape. Like, this truly, and as kind of, you know, effed up as that sounds, it's like this deck felt just validating of my feelings and just kind of where my mind was in just, yeah, on multiple levels. And I just felt like, yep, here I am. Like, I am this figure wearing this plague mask and just trying to fight my way, you know, through this landscape. Yeah. So actually this worked out really well. I mean, just for a week. And then after that, it was back to like, okay, I need some pastels again. Like it was nice to wallow for a time. And this really helped make me feel seen in a weird way. And then it was back to like, okay, we're going to go back to Kauai, or we're going to go back to, and Sasarai Bito was actually another really gentle hug deck, actually, Sasarai Bito, which I wouldn't have imagined, but it was kind of out. And I just decided to use it, you know, one week. And I'm like, wow, this actually is it's a really comforting deck. So
Sasarai Bito always makes me feel strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like all the court cards in Sasarai Bito feel like parts of me rather than like external people in a way. It makes me feel like I have qualities of all of these different characters that I see in the deck. And so it just feels, it makes me feel powerful.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. It's like, it does. It's like fortifying and yet at the same time supportive. And so that was that one was a surprising one because I just, it was more like, oh, like I have it out. I want to do a reading or, you know, let me grab it. So I did a reading with it and it's like, oh, wow, I really loved this. And then I made it, you know, I chose it to do daily draws with. So yeah, I was definitely been hopping around between decks.
Which I think makes a lot of sense because grief is a complicated thing, isn't it? And it's like some days you need a hug and some days you need support and some days you need to feel the rage and it's just, it's not as straightforward as you do this and then you do this and then you do this. It's a real funny old journey that you just have to go through.
It really is. It really is. But I will say, you know, I thought that actually the tarot would kind of go by the wayside because I just had a lot of trouble doing many things or just even focusing. But actually tarot was kind of a way to bring me back to a sense of focus. And even if it wasn't for any type of message I could take away from that day, if anything, I just kind of went back to my tried and true of like, oh, okay, I got this card. Let me go look through some of my books. It's just a way to kind of ground myself. Like, let me just read something on this card, you know, from one of my books and refamiliarize myself or, you know, try to find something new from some of these sources that I have. So funnily enough, tarot was the one thing that kind of has remained pretty constant in what has been a very chaotic schedule for me this last month. So,
yeah. I'm going to talk about an oracle too, just because in December I had a really amazing experience with an oracle and then ended up switching the tarot deck that I was using with it like halfway through the month because I wasn't having as amazing as an experience with the tarot deck. But the oracle that I used for all of December is kind of a unique one. I've had it for a while. It's two decks actually that I combined together. It's the Mirror of Mama Shamana and the Yarn of Mama Shamana. And they're by a Russian creator. And I've had them for a couple of years. And it's a really interesting little deck because, again, two little decks combined into one big deck. It has really, this is very shiny, just kind of like whimsical art cards that have no words on them. And the artwork is really beautiful, but it is very thought-provoking and interesting and whimsical. There's a very fairy tale quality to the artwork. And so when you're using this deck, you draw one of these art cards. And then there's also a different set of cards that goes with them, which are word cards. And so each of these word cards has like some kind of sentence or phrase, and they're all interesting, poetic, not like a bit abstract, you know, and so it's the combination of the words and the pictures that you read together, and they're interesting. Like this one says, fill the heart with wax and tin, tie the twine around the rim, feel the lake that's deep and dim, you know. If you are January, you will always be served first. Oh, one avoids such a skillful trap. Oh, you must be a rare chap. It's not the old shrub's roots that hold the earth together. So her skin changes its shade. The roots will reach the heart of earth. The desert devours all. So there's some really interesting words, and you know, it's a lot of cards.
That's a lot. So the creator wrote those? I mean, the creator's like a poet or writer. Wow.
Yeah. So the creator wrote all the words and then created all these artworks. And I just draw one of each, and it's really kind of bonkers how they end up speaking to each other. Like I got some really kind of just over the course of the month, some of the messages that I got were just like so kind of terrifyingly on point, or so like such an interesting and on point picture to go with the phrase. And it's a really fascinating deck, or set of decks. Again, it's two decks. I mean, they have different let me find one that, like, they have different backings, but I combine them together into one big deck basically. And just because they're the same, they work the same way, and use them together. And the artwork is just beautiful.
I really love the artwork.
I really, really like it. Yeah, so,
yeah.
Is this an Etsy deck? Did you find this on Etsy or where?
No, you have to order from the creator. And yeah, I can't, like, I've had this for a while, and I have another one of her decks too that I got maybe like more like a year and a half ago, something like that. That one's called the West of the Moon Oracle, and it's very fairy tale based. But it's not quite like this. It doesn't have the same like word cards to go with, but yeah, the artwork of it is just really wonderful and interesting, and it's a very unique oracle, and it's really, really fun to work with. So I had a great time spending the whole month with that deck. I'd never spent like such an extended amount of time with it before. You know, I've worked with it, but like I've never actually like given it a full month of working with it every day. And it's just a really special kind of like magical, weird, interesting deck to work with. So that was awesome. I loved working with that deck. I started out the month in December working with this deck, which it just fell flat for me. And I don't know why. And I'd wanted this deck for so long. And I started working with it, and I was just like, nah, I don't know why. The art was so beautiful. Like, it's a really cool deck. It's awesome. And it might have just been that the Oracle was feeling so magical that the tarot deck was just kind of like paling in comparison or something. Like, I don't know what it was, but I wasn't getting as much out of it. So halfway through December, I switched to just using the Marloon because that's a favorite, and it's always wonderful. And the artwork really complemented the Shamana decks really well. And so that is what I did in December. It was the real standout was the Oracle. And then in January, I only used a tarot because I just felt like I was going to take a break from the super intense Oracle experience that I had in December. And I got the new Delos, the borderless one, just because like I couldn't resist seeing what it was like. And I have the second edition, I think, also, and I love it. But it was so inexpensive, and it comes with a little matching bag, which is so cute. Like, look at this little bag. It's so adorable.
That's really cute.
So I just spent the whole of January with the Delos Tarot, and you know, the
Oh, is it
border.
glossy?
It is glossy. Yes.
I kind of like that.
I mean, it's not, you know, you would be able to shuffle this so easily, Julie. I'm just saying, like, it is very flexible.
Not that I need another version of Delos.
Another version of the Delos. I didn't need another version of the Delos either, but I was just like, oh, why not? You know, it's only $35, including shipping from Korea, which is crazy, whatever. And so, you know, so I thought I'll just try the borderless version, and it's perfectly nice, and I like it, and you know, cool. I have an extra Delos now, I guess. So, but yeah, it's great that this deck is back in print.
It really is.
You know, I know that there have been some complaints about the quality. You know, it is very, very floppy cardstock, and it is glossy, but it shuffles really easily. It's fine. You know, like there's nothing wrong with it. And for the price, like it's actually an amazing price. And yeah, who doesn't love the Delos? Like it's just a great, cute little deck.
It's so cute. This deck is really so cute.
I mean, it's just freaking adorable. So yeah,
I might have to buy it. I haven't done yet, but I might have to.
I don't know why I'm kind of like in this like gloss mood lately where I'm just really attracted to like the glossy decks for some reason.
I want the shiny.
I guess I do. I guess I'm all about the shiny for right now and I like that it's borderless.
Yeah. It's got a very thin.
Yeah, very thin.
Yeah. So, oh, it's just so cute. Look at that little kid. It's so cute.
And I love the wands, how they all have little heads on them. Like it's just honestly, it's so adorable. It's just the cutest deck. So
can you show me the backs again? Did she change the backs on?
The backs are slightly different. They have these roses.
Yeah.
So, the second edition, which is what I have, had everything. The backs looked like this, except they didn't have the roses. So the roses are what's new for the third edition. And I'm not sure about the first edition. So
that's the one I have actually.
Yeah. So
So
it's just, I mean, honestly, considering that you like literally get a little matching screen printed bag, and you get the deck, and it's shipped all the way from Korea, and you get all of that for like $35, it's a pretty darn good deal.
It's
worth it. So yeah.
Okay.
It's just a little deck. So
think about that. I'll think about it.
Etsy, right? This one is on Etsy, isn't it?
Yes.
That's where she sells it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So then I think we're on to books. I read a shit ton.
Yeah, I saw on Instagram that you read a shit ton.
I did. I read 17 books in January.
Oh my God.
But I discovered audiobooks in a huge way. I'm like in my audiobook era right now because I'm just loving it. And I've just like, because I've always struggled with them, and I've realized that the reason I struggle with them is because I need them to be quick, because otherwise I can't keep focus. So I've been listening to them on like 2.3 to 2.5, which is the perfect speed for me. But it also means I get through them really damn quickly because they're so quick. So I listened to like 5, or I think I did 5 books by audio, or 6 books by audio in January. And then I also did 3 graphic novels. Like I did the first One Piece, the first Death Note volume, and another volume of Saga. So I did 3 of those as well. So I read a lot, but I didn't go anywhere or do anything. And also I had like shorter things that I read and stuff.
It all counts. It all counts.
Yeah, it all counts, right? So it's all reading. Reading is reading.
Reading is reading.
But so my favorite book was The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon what's her surname? Chakraborty?
I'm not sure, but I have heard of this book.
I cannot remember her surname, but she it was so good. It was so good. So it's like
pirates, right?
She's a 40-year-old, like mid-40s retired pirate who gets called back out. She's got dodgy knees and stuff. She gets called back out for one last job, and it just like the first half was really world building because it is a fantasy. So the first half is very historical fiction. So she's Muslim, and the guy that they're going after is Christian from the Western world, is like the backdrop of this story. And so it's very historical fiction to begin with, and I don't like historical fiction generally, but the characters were so likable and interesting that I wanted to know more. And then the second half, the fantasy like kicks off, and you've got like a kraken and all kinds of stuff happening, and I'm like, I am so here for this. It was so good, and it's the beginning of a series as well, apparently. So it was so good. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed myself. That I did on audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. And then the other thing that I read that was interesting for me was an anthology called Out There Screaming, which was edited by Jordan Peele, and it's horror, all by Black authors. So he has like a thing at the beginning where he talks about how horror is a way for people, it's a catharsis through entertainment, and it's a way to deal with fear and pain and stuff. But the Black experience is a very specific experience, and the horror that allows them to have that catharsis therefore has to be very specific and written by own voices. So and it was really good. It was really, really good. There was one story that, because I gave it star ratings as I went, like I gave each story a star. There was like 3 or 4 that were 5-star stories. They were so good. There was 1 2-star, mainly because I didn't really understand what was happening, and the end came out of nowhere and didn't really fit with the rest of the story, and I was confused. So I don't think it was necessarily the writer's fault. It might have been me, not them, but but overall it was good. That was the only one I didn't really like. I don't read short stories. I was going to say very often, but ever. I realized as I was reading this, like, this is the first time I've ever read an anthology other than the ones they made us read at school, which was a very long time ago. And I am not convinced they are for me. In general, I wanted more. That was my thing. I came out of every single story like, I want more. I want more. I wanted more character build up. I wanted more world build up. I wanted like, I'm not a plot driven reader. I'm a world driven reader or a character driven reader, and they don't have time to do that in a short story in the way that I need and I like. But also, some of them were really fucking scary, and I did kind of enjoy that. So
do you also prefer TV shows to movies?
Yeah.
Huh?
Do you also prefer TV shows to movies?
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way. Like, I want long form storytelling with like lots of character development and like characters I can get attached to. And so I always prefer novels to short stories, and I'm the same way. I always prefer TV to movies.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, definitely. And it was funny because I was talking to my friends about this and about short stories, and specifically this. And I was saying, you know, like, I don't know how else to sum it up, but I'm a Stephen King reader. I'm in for the long haul. Like, that's what I like. That's what I do. But I enjoyed it enough that I have another anthology of short stories. Never Whistle at Night, it's called, which is all Indigenous authors. And I'm still really looking forward to reading it, but I just think in general, short stories are not my go-to, and anthologies are not my go-to. I'd much rather have, even novellas are a little bit on the short side for me sometimes, because I just want more. I want more. I want to like be so invested in these people that by the time the plot starts happening, I really, really give a damn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And sometimes too, like anthologies, it's like they feel like a collab deck, you know, where things are, you know, it's different authors with totally different styles, and it starts to feel a little bit like disjointed. So I've read many anthologies in my life, but it's not my favorite thing to read, you know. Like, I will definitely read good ones, but I always prefer just like a novel, and it just has a more cohesive feel and that ability to get really invested, and, you know, all those I just always prefer that. So
yeah. One of the useful things though about reading an anthology I've discovered is
you find other authors.
You find out a whole load of authors, yeah, because they all have novels out, and so there are some where I'm like, I am definitely reading from you again, and you know, even somewhere the story, the actual story was not for me, but the writing was definitely for me. I'm like, I want to try something else of yours because I think that we're going to get on. I just don't think this was it, because it was too short and I wanted more of your stuff. So that's always fun. Yeah, so that was me. That was like the two standouts, I think, for me in terms of books.
Well, so I started this one in December. We were, this might look familiar. I want to eat your pancreas.
Yes,
because when I was in Pennsylvania visiting Matt's family, we were just kind of killing time. We went to a Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, I was actually going to start Fourth Wing. That's on my Kindle, which I forgot. So I was left with nothing to read while visiting Pennsylvania. So I'm like, let me buy something. And so I decided, okay, let's see if there's a copy of I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, because this was on my to read. And so, yeah, I started it around Christmas time. And because it is, it is manga, and it's like, it's not that hard, to focus. I was able to continue into January, and I finished this, I want to say, earlier on in January. And I think because Heather had kind of warned us about some of the like sadder moments and, just vibe, I didn't get too, like, I thought I was going to be like a heaping puddle on the floor. And while it was a moving story, I think I like survived. It was okay. It really was a sweet, like, it was a moving story for sure. So I would recommend it as well. And it's just kind of, and that's like that looks sad. Like, like, why are you reading a sad book at this time in your life? And I'm like, I don't know, because like, why not?
You need things to meet you where you are. Sometimes that's what you really need, is something to meet you where you are.
Yeah.
And it's also like right up until the moment where it's sad, it's also just really sweet. And
it is. It really is.
It's just really,
it really is.
Lovely story.
It was a lovely story. And so I think that's why I was able to, and then I was warned, I knew that there would be, the plot ahead would be not so happy. And so it was fine. And I do recommend it. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, focus was hard for sure. And so a lot of times I was reading this. This I got for Christmas because it's just nostalgic. I mean, I had all of these like, in like their standalone story forms as a kid, and I just like to get this as like a full collection just made me so happy. It was like one of the best Christmas gifts. But like, yeah, like look at how freaking huge this text is. I mean, it was perfect for me at the time. It's like, wow, I really can't focus on much of anything. Let me just read another story from Frog and Toad. Like, it's the best ever. So then I also was trying to audio read Good Omens. That was a little harder. I could not focus, and I'm not sure if it's because just my state, my kind of mental state, and just being kind of drained, or if I just generally don't like the story. I don't know yet. I would say I'm a few hours into audio reading, and it's sped up a little bit. And what part am I at? I can't even remember. That's kind of how invested I wasn't, I suppose. So I'm going to have to go. I feel like I want to maybe revisit it and give it a substantial try. Like, cause I just feel like maybe mentally I just wasn't into it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one, but I'm still going to try. Then finally, I am in the middle of The Fourth Wing. See, my reads are kind of boring at this point because they're really just a reiteration of like your recommendations and your reads, because that's where I get my recommendations from. Like, I don't do BookTube, and so I get them from you all. So I am in the middle of Fourth Wing, and I am enjoying it very much, despite. I mean, you got to take it for what it is, which for me is very nostalgic to the books that I read when I was a tween, like the fantasy romance or romantic fantasy. However, I mean, I will say, like, the prose, like her style of prose is not necessarily my thing. It can be a little bit like jarring at times because sometimes I'll read and I'll be like, wow, that's a really nice turn of phrase. And I really like this dialogue going. It's pretty fluid. And then the next thing I'm reading was Xaden's so fucking hot. And I'm just like, okay.
Okay.
Really, like, I don't know. Sometimes the language feels a little bit maybe anachronistic to what I'm imagining or wanting that world to be, you know, which is like old-timey fantasy world, but then you're putting in like language that like, well, maybe, I mean, I guess I'm older, like, I don't know, but like I would use, or like, you know, a 20-year-old would use in our age and time. So that was sometimes a little bit jarring. But at the same time, like and I say this, you know, with just delight, that's the campiness of the way she would describe some of these characters and all their like hotness, and like it's just a very, like, I can tell she's a romance writer, and and again, just kind of very nostalgic of some of the things that I would read, that I read when I was younger. But you know, I just overall am enjoying. I mean, there are times where I feel like there is a little bit of kind of authorial intrusion, and not as like a literary device, but as like a mistake. It's like, no, stick to first person, like stick to the character, like not your little insertion of like how we're supposed to interpret this, because Violet wouldn't, like, no. So like little things like that would kind of pull me out. But honestly, I'm always like up for an underdog type of story. So I really do love the character of Violet. I do find just the sequence of events and the plot, and I'm really finding it quite entertaining. It really is keeping my attention, actually. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think that with the fantasy, it's like, I love me some dragons. I love me some dragons with some attitude, and you know, and yeah, it's just there's enough there. There's like more than enough there for me to just really make allowances, making several allowances that I probably wouldn't normally make, but it's just so entertaining. It really is. So
honestly, what can be more entertaining than dragons in the grand tradition of fantasy dragons who are way smarter than humans and have no patience for them? Like it's delightful. Like it's enjoyable, you know? It's like, sweet, the dragons are roasting these people worse than I would. This is awesome. Like it's just very entertaining.
You can't take it serious. It's not, if you're looking for a serious, like, cerebral read, this isn't it. Like, but if you want brain candy, oh my gosh, this is like so good.
Oh, in early December, like I've actually done a fair amount of like comfort reading too. Like I've read like some Ellen Montgomery novels and some stuff like that I won't necessarily go into. But in the beginning of December, I finished Hellbent, which is the second in the Ninth House series, and I thoroughly enjoyed that book. I thought it was really good. I actually enjoyed it more than I enjoyed the first book in the series, and it was good. Like it was a really fun, super entertaining, interesting read. It was good. So not much else to say about it other than that. The only other kind of like big thing that I sort of undertook in December going into January is that for some reason it occurred to me, and I don't know what made this occur to me, but it occurred to me that long time ago, like not a super long time ago, maybe like 5 years ago, I had read like the first 5 books in the Dark Tower series and then had not continued. And I was like, you know, I should finish that series. I should finish it. But I had no recollection of what had happened in the first, I can't remember if it was the first 4 or 5 books. And so what I did is I went back and I read on Tor.com, the publisher, they have like, you know, lots of blogs and articles and stuff on the website. And they had done like a read along of The Dark Tower, and so there was like all of these like extensive blog posts summarizing the entire series, and so I read that entire thing, all of those blog posts summarizing the first part of the series up until where I had left off, and then I started reading the book that I had left off on, which is Wolves of the Calla, which I can't remember. Heather, do you know if it's like the fourth or that's like the fifth book, isn't it? Or the sixth?
I think it's the fifth.
Fifth, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I think
it's the first four that I had read, and now I'm on the fifth one. And so I started reading that book, and so that's like what I'm working on now is Wolves of the Calla by Stephen King. And you know, it's interesting. Like, The Dark Tower. I mean, obviously, it was written back in like the 80s and early 90s,
yeah.
and it has, you know, it definitely like has some problematic elements that you probably wouldn't see in books written nowadays. But you know, the story is like really. I mean, it's a fantastic story, and it's, you know, got fantastic characters. And so I've enjoyed getting back into it, even though, you know, it just is what it is. So I don't know why all of a sudden I got to be in my bonnet of like, oh, I should finish reading The Dark Tower, but I did. So that's what I'm doing. So
cool. So the next is TV and films. I read so much in January that I did not watch very much at all. In fact, the only thing I'm in a rewatch thing at the moment. That's what I want to do right now. I just want to watch stuff I've already seen. So I rewatched Schitt's Creek in January, which I'm not quite at the end yet. I'm like almost at the end of season 5 of 6 seasons. And I just love it. I love it. It's so much fun. Have either of you seen Schitt's Creek?
I tried.
I've only seen the first season, and I need to get back into it. It's the same thing. I know it's been too long, and now I feel like I need to start over again.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Matt and I tried. You know, we got well into the first season, and I'm not sure. Like, it's not like I hated it. It's not like I didn't enjoy it, but maybe there was just so much hype surrounding it that I had like loftier expectations or something. I'm not sure. And a few people had said you kind of need to get through the first season, and then it really starts to really shine and get better in terms of So I'm just like I've been wanting to kind of get back into it, just because like for some reason on my Instagram reels, like just like the ones that they just like, you know,
they just show you. They just
show you.
Yeah.
Schitt's Creek. It's clips of Schitt's Creek, and they look.
It's funny, and I think David, particularly the son, has so many like one-liners or iconic moments that are just memeable. They're just really memeable, and so I think that helps. But I got my work colleague to watch it, and she binge watched it over Christmas and watched all 6 seasons. And when we came back in January, she said she had like 3 days where she had no Schitt's Creek to watch, and she missed it, so she started again from the beginning.
Wow. Oh wow!
I was like, well, that's dedication. That is dedication. But that's all I've been doing. I haven't had the TV on very much at all, and when I have just been watching like an episode of Schitt's Creek with my dinner or whatever. So that's me for TV, really.
I mean, I have watched TV. It's been just a weird combination of like live action, like I guess versions of animated series, like Japanese animated series, like with Matt. So we did watch this one called Yu Yu Hakusho. It's on Netflix. So it's apparently like a live action version of a popular, you know, manga series. And I mean, it was entertaining. You know, it's there's you know, magic and fighting and, you know, funny characters and such. I couldn't begin to tell you what the premise is, because it was actually, we watched the beginning of January. It was okay. But I would say the most recent thing that we watched that okay. So we watched Oppenheimer. I managed to finish Oppenheimer. I don't know if you've two have seen this.
I haven't seen it yet.
No, not yet.
I was on the Barbie side of the Barbenheimer divide.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. So,
I didn't see either.
I mean, so I left, like, so we streamed it, obviously, you know, and watching it, and like, I want to say halfway through, I just got up and left the living room because I was like, you know, I'm just not interested right now. Like, I'm just not interested. But then the next morning I woke up and I just, for whatever reason, decided to like finish the rest, like while just in bed. Like, I'm just like, pull up my phone, you know, get the Amazon Prime on there and like just finish it. And I would say like the last 3/4 was a little bit more, I guess, engaging. I mean, I understand certainly the acting is really, I mean, phenomenal acting for sure. Like Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., like all like Emily Blunt, like all of them for sure, you know, did an amazing job. I just think that Christopher Nolan movies are hit or miss with me, I think. And it's like 3+ hours. Like, why? I just felt like it could have been truncated. I mean, at least it was a movie that I could follow on like some of his other movies where I think he tries to be a little bit like too, like he tries to be smarter than I am, which I don't quite, you know, appreciate. So I have to really pick and choose. I really have to pick and choose my Christopher. Like, I loved all the Batmans that he did. I loved all the Batman movies. But do I recommend it? I'm not sure. We actually did go to the movie theater to see The Boy and the Heron.
Okay, that's the new yeah.
That one was, I might not have been in the right frame of mind to be focusing, but even Matt was saying that it felt a little bit choppy in terms of the narration, in terms of sequence of events and motivation of why this character was doing this thing. And it just, I don't know. It wasn't one of my favorites. Visually beautiful, of course, per usual. But it's almost like I'd have to watch it again to see if the confusion is my fault or if it's the movie's fault, you know? Like, I just don't know yet. But so those were the 2 movies we saw.
I did not do very much reading, but I watched a ton of stuff. So standout things that I watched, a Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse I finally watched, which was such a good movie, like amazing movie, you know.
I've heard
fantastic, like the first one, just so good. So just a really wonderful movie. As far as TV goes, I did just finish watching Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I really enjoyed that book series, and they came out with an actual, like, well done, not disavowed by the author TV series on Disney, and it was like really enjoyable. Actually, it was well done. The child actors in it they did a great job, and the Percy Jackson books are just they're really great in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of I don't know. There's just a lot of like cool representation in certain ways in the Percy Jackson books, and so it was really fun to see like a legit, faithful take on those books that really adhered to what the author's vision was for the story, which was really cool. And as far as I watched so much stuff. I watched the BTS documentary. I watched season 6 of The Crown. I watched Queen Charlotte. I watched season 3 of Only Murders in the Building, which I loved. That show has just gotten better and better. Like as each season has gone on, and the 3rd season was like hilarious. So yeah, I mean, I watched a ton of stuff, I feel like, but I'd say, yeah, that Percy Jackson and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse are probably my 2 big standouts. So cool. Yeah.
Cool. I've been meaning to watch the Spider-Verse. I haven't seen either movie, and I've heard fantastic things about them. I just
the first one is on Netflix, I think.
Yeah.
Because I watched it like towards the end of last year. I might have actually mentioned it in one of these things.
Yeah.
But
they
was really good.
To me, it's like they are truly like the true realization of the potential of like actually what a comic book movie could be in terms of actually being a comic book movie, and like being inspired by what you can do in a comic book, and like making that into a movie, and the like the visuals and the just the way that they do everything in those movies, and it's so packed with visual excitement and so much just so many like little references and jokes, and like that was partially one of the reasons maybe why it took me so long to finish watching it, because I was rewinding it all the time to like catch stuff that I had missed in the frame, because there's so much, and they're just from a storytelling standpoint, they're wonderful. I mean, they're stories about identity and about how to tell your own story, like how to be present in your own story and make decisions in your own life. And they're so good. So good. So wonderful movies.
Okay. So the only thing I think left is hobbies, right? That's what we normally do. Yeah. So I didn't do anything. I have no hobbies. I did nothing. Well, it's not really a hobby. It's just, I've got a like color by numbers thing on my iPad, which I'm actually really, really enjoying.
So much fun.
It's just so relaxing.
So is your color by numbers just you tapping, or are you actually having to color?
No, it's just tapping.
Same.
So and it's just,
it's fabulous, isn't it? Like you wouldn't think something as simplistic as that would be so freaking entertaining, but it's amazing.
And I do it every day. Like every day I sit down and I think, oh, shall I watch an episode of something? Or, no, you know what? I think I'm going to get my Zen color out and do some slapping, paint by numbers. It's great fun. But it also, it's because I've got a load of coloring books around the house, but I had a whole pencil case full of coloring pencils, which I don't know, maybe I ate them. I don't know, but they have disappeared. I have 4 rooms, and one is a kitchen and one is a bathroom, and I cannot find these coloring pencils anywhere. They've just gone. But now I'm like, I kind of miss coloring too, so I think I might have to invest in some more coloring pencils so I can get my coloring books out as well, because there's just something really satisfying, even though you're like this one, you're just clicking on with a number and it's filling it in for you. There's just something really satisfying about when it's all done and you've got this completed picture and it's beautiful, and you're like, I did that.
Exactly. and you get it done within like the half hour. You know what I mean? As opposed to actually manually coloring, it kind of takes some time.
Yeah. And also, it's actually really good for me because I am horrendously arthritic, particularly in my wrists and my fingers, and because it's so cold at the moment, I hurt. Like I just hurt in my hands all the time. So holding a coloring pencil and actually coloring and the wrist movement can be quite difficult for me sometimes. So this is ideal because it's literally just tapping. It's nice and simple. So
well, and same for me, like in terms of just like eye strain, when I'm staring at a coloring page to manually color, I tend to get eye strain a lot. But then, on the iPad, you zoom in, it's fine. It's lovely. And you just tap away. I highly recommend. It's really
me too. Yeah. I'm really loving it.
Really good. Yeah.
And that is pretty much the only hobby thing that I've done in December and January.
So for me, I guess I've been cajoled down the fountain pen rabbit hole. So
it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. Somebody else did it.
Oh, really?
Really?
So, because for people who weren't familiar, they're, of course, Sarah loves her fountain pens. Waterchild Tarot Sarah. Sunset Bow Tarot Sarah. Waterchild Tarot. Laura Aquamarine 18 tarot books. They all love and they do videos on them, and like I've said to myself, no, I shall not. And they were talking about like doing ink sample trades, and so I'm like, no, because I knew this would be a slippery slope, and I'm like, no, I refuse. And then Waterchild Sarah, she in December sent me this. And this is a Pilot Platinum Prefontaine. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, is that right?
I think it's Prefontaine. Yeah,
Prefontaine.
I believe. I'm not positive. Yeah.
So she, she sent me some ink samples and she's like, look, she's like, sorry, not sorry. I feel like you should try this. You don't have to go down any rabbit hole. If you have questions, ask me. You don't, and you don't need all the pens. Like, this is a great beginner pen. Here's some inks, like, have fun. And if you don't like it, move it along. Like, you don't have to buy all the things and do all the things.
You'll notice that it was not me, because I had been tempted. I had been so tempted. I was like, oh, I could just gift Julie a fountain pen and just see how it goes. And then I was like, no, not everybody has to be into all of my hobbies. I don't need to force them on everyone. So I'm just going to take a step back. And then other Sarah stepped in and did it for me.
Yeah.
So then when Sarah
buy all this stuff, it's like, no, you do. Please don't tell me I've been doing this wrong my entire life. You do have to buy all the stuff.
Well, I actually was I was well behaved, because I just kept to what Sarah, this pen, and trying it out, and a couple different inks, and just learning how to ink up a pen, and also discovering what the hype is around fountain pens, because writes really smoothly. It's just a nice experience. Anyway, so then Sunset Bow Sarah caught wind of the fact that the other Sarah, Water Child Sarah, had sent me the pen, and then all bets were off, apparently, because then Sarah sent me her pen that she had used, this Pilot. What is this one? Pilot
Metropolitan.
Metropolitan,
Mm-hmm.
and some more ink samples. And so I've been having a lot of fun. I will say, I do understand the hype now. It's been fun, like, trying the different ink samples and, like, swatching them, and, like, it really is a nice writing experience. I mean, I will say this one feels a little more sensitive in terms of, like, oh, you want to pause to think before you write a sentence? Too slow. I'm going to dry up now. Like, this one really sensitive. So I just feel like I have to, and I learned about myself that I apparently keep my pens uncapped for unforgivable amounts of time, because then the fountain pen just, like, especially this one. But both of them write beautifully. Yes.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
Did you learn to write with fountain pens in school?
No.
Oh, okay.
Did you?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. When I was at school, you did in primary school. So, like, I don't know what that would be in America, but, like, before year 7, like your first 6 years, you learn to write with a pencil, and then you upgrade to, like, a biro type, one of those, those red handwriting pens. Have you seen them? Those red? Anyway, it might be a specifically British thing, but they're basically just like a biro. And then when your writing's neat enough, you're allowed to move on to a fountain pen.
Wow.
But we didn't do loose inks like that. We did, like, you buy the capsules with the ink already in it, and it's got a little ball inside it, and you load it in, and when it runs out, you take it out and you replace it with another one. But I don't know if they still do, because obviously I don't have children, and B, I haven't been in school for a very long time. But when I was at school, everybody learned to write with a fountain pen.
That's awesome. No,
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that you didn't do that at school in America.
No, but it's pretty damn fancy with these, for sure. Like,
we never had fancy. I mean, they weren't fancy pens. They were like pens they were giving them to 10-year-olds. They weren't that nice.
Understandable. But yeah, these two are the piston cartridges. So, right? Yeah.
So they're cartridge
converters.
Yeah, so you can put a cartridge or a converter in them. Yeah.
I'm learning. I'm still learning. And so I've had a couple ink catastrophes, which is fine. Just stupid stuff. Like,
We've all been there.
It's dry?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
still trying to, like, sweatshirt got a little bit stained, so I'm just working on that. But just like little things like that, and just so. But it's been a lot of fun. So
yay! That makes me so happy.
I do understand the hype now. I do. Anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do different inks, then you need another pen. Like, unless you're gonna use up all, you know, we have to wait to then use up all the ink in the one converter, or, you know, in the piston, and then you just might as well get another pen so that you can see another ink in there.
See, you have to buy all the stuff. That's how it works.
Welcome to the rabbit hole. Cool. So my one new thing that I did in December, because I don't know, got interested in trying to figure out how to do this. And it was a good thing to make for stocking stuffers for family members. I learned how to make candles, lip balm, and like hand salve. Like I learned how to make all those things. And I have a lot of like various essential oils of different kinds. And so it was like, well, as long as I have those, I might as well put them in things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to learn how to make candles and lip balm and hand salve. And so I did. And they turned out pretty good, actually.
Awesome.
At least usable. And so that people who received them from me as Christmas gifts could use them. So,
which is always a bonus.
Nobody's house has burned down from any of the candles I've made. This is good. This is a very good thing. They seem to like light and stay lit and then burn and melt the wax like they're supposed to. And you know, nobody's died from the lip balm or the hand salve, everything. So it seems like it went okay. So I'm very proud that I've figured out how to do that stuff. So
that was
like,
awesome.
It was a new thing for me. I'd never done any of those things before. So it was
so you're gonna keep up with it? Keep making more, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, you know, now it's like I still have a bag of soy wax, and I still have like the stuff that I need to make the other stuff, and I still have essential oils. So I might as well, now that I know how to make stuff, I might as well make stuff. So prepare for your birthdays, I guess, because like you're gonna get here's some beauty products I cooked in my kitchen.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Anyway, it was really fun though. It was really fun. Stuff actually like turned out not too bad. So I'm feeling good about it.
Okay, because I was wondering if it's like you learned off of YouTube, or you had a kit, or like a book that you used, or like you just.
I just did some research online and just like looked up, you know, what do you need in order to do these things? Like if I want to make candles scented with essential oils, what do I need? And I bought a bag of soy wax, and I mean and some wicks. I mean, that's basically all you need. You know, it's just like wax, wicks, pour smellies in, and you know, put it in a jar. Like, it's pretty much that simple. And like that same thing with the with like the lip balm and hand salve and stuff like that. It's basically just beeswax, oil, some kind of oil. So like I use jojoba oil and essential oils, and you know, you just find recipes online for various, you know, how much beeswax to how much oil and all that kind of stuff, and it all turned out like
awesome.
So apparently, it whatever instructions I read, they worked. So yeah, it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Stocking stuffers, so it was good. So yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, cool. So I think that is everything then.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you guys are watching this video, we will already have done our live for this month. So if you didn't manage to catch us, there will be playlists in the description box below so that you can check out that one. You can check out any that we've done before that you might not have seen, any of these past videos that we've done as well. The next time you see us will be on Sarah's channel in March, where again, we will do our live, and also a catch-up, pre-recorded catch-up will be on there. And yeah, that's it from us for February. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you all again very soon.